up a notch, even though your body's totally telling you stop. You're like, I'm totally going. It's right there. You guys have almost made it, so thank you so much for coming out and participating with us so far. How was last night? I see most of the whites of everyone's eyeballs pretty good. Thank goodness we started an hour earlier this morning. That's all I have to say. No Name Bar has that name for a reason, apparently. We're so glad that we could have you guys out here for the third and final day of Partner Summit. We've got a great presentation, a lot ahead of you guys. So much has happened. We've had such great conversations. I always kind of get sad to see it come to an end. But before we get sad and have it come to the end, we have what I would like to consider our cleanup hitter, the guy who comes in last when the bases are loaded, and I think we've done a good job of kind of putting the ducks on the pond out there. Actually, was Ron McNabb last night watching the College World Series, so we had a lot of baseball references today. He was super excited. He's like, turn off that stupid soccer! The College World Series last game! So we got some good dose of Omaha last night. But the person that I'm about to bring out to you to speak to you right now in the cleanup spot is someone that I've known for a long time. Many of you, show of hands, have you ever been to a technology innovation conference in this past year? Several of you? Good. Well, that's good because this person will look pretty familiar to you. His name is Roger Blohm. You guys have seen him at the vendor fair, hopefully, and just walking around town. You might have seen him last night at the No Name Bar making one of his favorite drinks that no one knows how to make. He literally goes and teaches the bartender how to do it and then serves him out. It's awesome. He's a very generous, very thoughtful, very kind person. He's also a great visionary leader in the world of telecommunications. Recently, he was president of a company called Americom. They're a big short-selling construction company here in the state of Utah. He's been the president of several companies. Right now, he's the president of LVM. LVM creates a product called VX Suite. Again, this is a product that we've been touting to our partners for a long time. It really helps us see into the networks that we're actually selling. You know, it's great. Carriers do their job, and people in the cloud do their job, and everyone does their job somehow, some way. These things figure out a way to not work, and LVM is the people. They're the people that help us figure this stuff out. So the blame is laid at the feet of the people who deserve it, not the people who don't deserve it, which is 99% of the cases. It's the people who didn't do anything wrong are the ones getting yelled at. Roger's the guy that makes that happen. He's an outdoorsman. He loves to hike. He has done rim to rim in Grand Canyon. Anyone done rim to rim before in the Grand Canyon? Well, good. So you need to talk to this guy because he's done it 3 times with his dad. He loves to spend time with his family. He's got 3 amazing kids, and he's very happily divorced. So if you can ask him anything about that, he is a guy that you want to get to know. The things that he's going to talk about today are visionary. He has a point of view, a perspective that we don't have over here in the telecom agent community. He's been in the equipment and MSP and VAR community for many, many years. He understands their world. He understands how our worlds are colliding, and he can speak both our language and their language. He's a very unique individual in that aspect. And then last but not least, if someday Roger disappears for the Caribbean and starts a little dive bar called the Bussy Crustacean, don't be surprised. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Roger Blohm.
Friends are, I haven't introduced you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the No Name Bar. I'll pretend I don't remember your names. So, thanks for waking up this morning and letting me stand in your way of golf and bobsledding. It's different than snow angels like last year, but we'll figure that out. So, I'm lucky enough to get to talk to you today about being a cloud broker, which has no meaning. I get to define everything, and we're going to change the whole thing by the time we're done. So, it'll be a good time, but I thought before we did that, I've noticed the theme of the conference this week has been about change. And so I thought, well, hold on, let's see what else has changed. Let's go back. And by the way, where did cloud come from? So let's do some research and figure out what's changed. So I went back and tried to find out why we call it the cloud, because it's such a specific term. And I found that in 1994, Compaq submitted a patent application with a little drawing, and it looked like a bad circle. And that's the first time that they called it the cloud. And then it went from there, and Amazon latched onto it. And I said, well, what else was going on back then? And there's a bunch of stuff that's totally different than today. So back then, Patrick and Adam had decided to go to Polaris. Jurassic Park was #1 in the box office. Bush and Clinton were running for president. There was a new Terminator movie coming out. And the Star Wars enterprise was about to launch a new one. So we're totally different today. Well, at least we figured out that Princess Leia should be a Disney princess. So when you ask that question to your kids, you haven't done it. So let's get started. Cloud broker. A lot of times when we go to these conferences, and yeah, this room's tough, so I'm not ignoring you over here. I'll try to come back. We had a drink in the No Name last night, didn't we? When you leave this conference, you're going to feel one of two ways. You're going to feel like the world on the side that's destroyed, and there's some construction guys in here that go, well, there's a lot of construction to do over there. That's a great opportunity. And then you're going to feel like the world over on the other side is spectacular, but I don't know how to go after that and make that my reality, so we're going to do that. By the way, when I woke up this morning, I went to put my contacts in, remembered MJ's talk, and thought, you know what? Snowden never wears contacts. So maybe the NSA knows something about my Bosch and Blohm lenses that I need to worry about. So I left my glasses on. Grabbed my USA Today, which I only read in hotels, which is a weird thing for me. But I pulled the USA Today out, and this is today's paper. Everybody go check this. And the article on the front of the money section is a big picture of, nobody knows what that is, right? But it's Facebook. So Facebook just kicked Walmart out of the top 10 in the S&P 500. And if you look at it, 4 of the 10 companies in the top 10 in the S&P 500, according to, I'm not making this up, and that's unusual. In USA Today, are what we would call cloud companies. So we better figure this out, right? They're the most valuable companies in the world. You've got Apple and Microsoft and Google, and now Facebook. We've also got Johnson & Johnson and 2 banks, so we care about Band-Aids, banks, and cloud. So we're going to figure this out. But as we go forward, what I'm trying to do today is take some of the aspects of this, and I'm going to contrast what I said in one of the sessions yesterday. How do we work with VARs? And it was a great session. It was a brainstorming led by Bryce and Ruth and others and Levon. And they were trying to figure out how to go recruit this holy grail of MSP, VAR, whatever that might look like. I'm going to change that, and next year at the MSP conferences, they're going to be saying, how do I go recruit the right cloud broker? And they're going to be coming to you, and they're going to be asking you for, how do we go make money at this? So the world is totally different when you go to these conferences, but the biggest challenge is, what do I do and where do I exist? And what happens? And so Telarus has built this great engine on the pretty side of the world, and we're going to talk about how to get there. So before we do that, let's talk about how we got here. You know, Eeyore was the first cloud broker, but other than that, we'll come back to that. So let's talk about your customer's dilemma. The IT guy that you sell to, or the IT guy you're trying to get through to the CIO. So they used to walk in and you'd hand you a device, they'd hand you a BlackBerry, they'd hand you a Dell laptop, they'd tell you exactly what applications you could run, and they would tell you, here's how I'm going to control every variable. Okay? Well, then one day an iPhone came along, and I walked in and I said, no, Mr. IT, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to pick the device I want. So somehow they let that happen. They let everybody choose the device they want. Okay, well, we can make this better. So let's put it on a network that we don't control. And in fact, let's make that network faster. Thank you, cable and others. And I won't pitch anybody here directly. But let's put it on something that has less quality of service and less ability to control it. I can make this even better. Let's put it in a data center that I don't manage. Okay, so let's look at this model for just a minute of what the IT world has let us do. Pick any device you want, and we'll be totally responsible for the outcome. Take all the variables, and you can yell at me when it goes bad, and I have no control on the decisions you make in the control portion. Now, wait a minute. An environment where I'm in trouble if it goes bad, I don't get to control the thought or emotion or feelings. Who would do that? Anybody here married? First divorce joke was actually Patrick's. Not mine. No, so we've done this to ourselves, the IT group. They want control. They want to deliver a good service, but how do they get that control back? And it means they have to find vendors that they can trust and use, and transparency is going to matter, and you're going to see initiatives come out that let the companies have to deliver something better than it wasn't my last mile, it's not my fault. So let's talk about how we got there. Well, the first thing was what I call the consumerization of IT. I'm not sure consumerization is actually a word. PowerPoint thinks it isn't, and Keynote thinks it is. But consumerization of IT, companies no longer have control of the devices. We've let ourselves go home, pick our device, and come back. And the real reason is we love these devices, okay? And we don't love the phone on our desk. Anybody in here ever taken their phone off their desk and gone home and sat on their couch and played with it? Any of your customers ever sat down and said, well, look at the button I can hold. Part of why I'm not married. Anyway, second divorce joke. We're going to count those. There's a prize for who counts them all up. But we've picked a device that we can control and enjoy and change the experience and change it to lots of interactions and lots of pieces that are going to be better for us. And as we do that, we've gotten more and more robust at the things we can do. Okay, so then what happens? So if we choose our devices, all of a sudden the network got consumed with the devices, right? So let's just do this quick. And this has already been presented by a couple of people, but if we look at it, the world population in 2003, 6.3 billion, and we had 500 million connected devices. Okay, so 500 million, less than 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 had a device. Okay, jump ahead to 2010, we had a few hundred million people in the world. But we jumped to 12.5 billion connected devices. Something happened there, right? 1.84 per person. 2015, we jumped to 7.2 billion. And we all have 4 devices on us now. We have 4 devices that are connected. Really? Right now. Turn them all on. Play. That's what you do. And where we're headed is by 2020, we're going to have 50 billion devices. So almost 7 per person. Okay, there's going to be some hipster 30 years from now wearing an Apple Watch, really crazy. But 7 devices, think about that. Everything is going to get connected together. So we let the consumers choose which device they were going to use. We connected everything, not yet, but we're getting close. Pretty Andrew, I'm getting my contacts out for a reason because I'm afraid of that now. We're going to connect everything and have span. The question I had last night at the bar was, how do you clear a retinal implant's browser history? MG, I'm going to need an answer before we go.
Go to the no-name bar.
Go to the no-name bar, dude. That was the browsing problem, right? So anyway, so what did the application companies do? These people that made USA Today as the most valuable companies in the world. How did they respond? Well, Microsoft fired Steve Ballmer. Okay, hired a new CEO. By the way, since he took over, stock's up 24%. Now that I'm giving you stock tips. And he quit fighting with Apple and said, you know what, we're going to change our model and we're going to create a platform that will work on any device. And the way we do that is we pull it up into the cloud and we change the way it works. And I will tell you that I use Outlook on my iPhone, and it's one of the best apps that's ever been released. I really like it, really enjoy it. They quit fighting that. I use Outlook on my Mac desktop. They figured out that I'm going to make the platform work. So the way we do that is we centralize that and say, okay, pick your device. And we're going to change the way people connect to our applications. And they've changed their mantra to be a platform company. Okay, so that's Microsoft. Well, let's look at what Cisco believes. So I was at the Cisco show 2 years ago. My team was there earlier this month. And Cisco says we're in the middle of a market transition. And if you look at the green arrows, we're right there at that cloud, intercloud, where we're starting to do it. But if you look at the type of connectivity, routed, switched, packet, mobile, video, and you look at that bridged and shared and circuit and fixed, we're moving to more and more connectivity. Microsoft is about to announce, or has announced, I can't remember when the press release comes out, Microsoft Wi-Fi or hotspot. They're going to have 120 million hotspots across the country to basically blank the country with connectivity. Okay, I'm a Comcast customer, Infinity, the home version. I get hotspots wherever I go. Right, so we're going to get connected more and more. And we're going to spread out, and things are going to get better connected. I think the speakers today this week have made a good point of that. Okay, this is a telling moment though. Earlier this year, at the Computer Electronics Show. Slide that to the corner. They had a panel, and for those of you who don't know, this is John Chambers, and he's sitting next to Neil Smith. Now, anybody know who Neil Smith is? These guys might know. Who is he?
Comcast bigwig.
He's a Comcast bigwig. Do you find it interesting that John Chambers, who has since announced he's leaving Cisco, but he's going to be the chairman, is sitting next to, who should he be sitting next to? He's not sitting next to the head of Microsoft, so they still don't like each other perfectly. He's not sitting next to the head of Amazon. He's sitting next to one of the bigwigs at Comcast. Did you guys see this speech? Have you seen this panel? Oh, see, you're in for a treat. As he talked about this, he said, yep, we're going to connect everything together, and data and analytics are going to matter, and it's going to be because we have to change the paradigm. So as we connect that stuff together, one of the biggest challenges is going to be getting data out and presenting it to our clients in a way that makes sense. So Cisco's looking at it in a little bit different view, but they're still pulling everything back to the cloud. For those of you who build software, Cisco just announced that their new operability testing for software companies like mine are now in a virtual sandbox in the cloud, and so we can connect from wherever we're at, rent time to test and certify. It takes about 1/10 of the time to certify to be a Cisco partner than it used to. Excuse me. One of the interesting things at this conference is they talked about change. And I want you to listen to this video clip for just a minute and just notice what these two companies are doing. And we're going to bring it back and hear for a minute about what they're doing. So, again, Computer Electronics Show, John Chambers from Cisco, and Joe Smith from Comcast.
Pace of change is kind of sort of one of the overarching themes we have here. And John, talk to us a little bit about how you've been thinking about that at Cisco, and I know you've concretely made a lot of changes at Cisco recently, specifically because of the pace of change that you're concerned about. So explain that.
Well, in the high-tech industry, our competitors from 15 to 20 years ago, none of them exist. And from 10 to 15 years ago, great companies, Alcatel, Lucent, Nortel, Ericsson, are a shadow of where they were before. And the same thing will happen to Cisco if we don't constantly change and innovate. So innovation is really what makes Silicon Valley go. But what you're about to see, and David's comments earlier, I think, redraw it home, is you begin to think about the Internet of Everything. When you connect all these capabilities, every country, every city, every company, every citizen, every home, every automobile, every sporting event will be connected. In other words, they'll become digital. And that's a nice way of saying that as this digitization occurs, the speed of change in every industry in our everyday lives will mimic more of what has happened in high tech, because everybody will be a tech company. And that's a nice way of saying.
Used the techonomy for many years.
Yes.
Every company is a technology company.
And so as every company becomes digital and every person becomes digital, the speed of change in healthcare or entertainment will be dramatic. For companies, to put it in perspective, it used to be that maybe 25% of the Fortune 500 would survive for 25 years on that list. I would project today that out of the large enterprise customers in this room, companies in this room, including us, that only 40% of us will exist in a meaningful way in 10 years. So the speed of change...
Only 40%, so 60% will go away in the next 10 years.
Will have the potential to be non-material in the next 10 years.
Wow.
So it speaks to change. So I look at this as an opportunity for how do you lead in this, how do you innovate as a company, how do you really take these technologies everybody gets excited about, as cloud and security and connecting everything, and really get an outcome you want, whether it's a healthcare outcome, extending the person's life longer, dealing with chronic disease, or whether it's a company that truly reinvents itself. And to your question specifically about Cisco, we've changed more in the last year organizationally to position ourselves for the future than we have in any 5 years before that. And I think most people, David, would say we've changed our company pretty regularly. Interestingly enough, part of the reason I'm moving fast is because of this gentleman on my left. I watched what he did at Comcast and how he changed so quickly your leadership team and your transitions in the last 5 years. So I think the speed of change is probably one of the key messages, whether you're an individual contributor out there today, a service provider, a media company, or a startup.
But just talk about a couple of specific things you've done in these last 6 months where you've shaken things up so much at Cisco.
Well, if you were to look at it as an example, we used to be organized how our customers would buy products, routers, switches, wireless, data center. In the last 6 months, we reorganized the whole company, moved almost 70% of our engineering organization to different reporting functions, did something that was very painful for us, laid off 6,000 people and hired 6,000 back with different skill sets. We organized more on outcomes, so moving from selling boxes to outcomes, We organized around our customers, enterprise customers or service providers, and we did that not just with engineering, but with sales, services, and brought them together. That required a change in culture, it required a change in organization, it required a change in compensation, and it took us about 6 months to get to where we are. But part of the way we set it up is I had Neil's team come in from Comcast and share the changes that you all made.
Oh, is that really true? I concretely brought lessons from Comcast.
Absolutely. It was really cool because when we brought 300 of our top leaders together, once the Comcast team started talking, then my own team said, John, we need to be more like them. We need to move faster. So it couldn't have set us up better for the change. Now, having said that, as all CEOs know in this audience, change is really hard. But it's going to be required for survival. A lot of very high rewards, came a lot of challenges. But this digitization of every company is going to require that to occur.
And I think we learned as much from the changes that you did as you did from us. I mean, I think it was a very good exchange of ideas, and in the partnership, I think going forward in this dynamic environment, the partnerships are going to become more and more important, and being agile in how you partner with companies and who's doing what and what roles they're going to play. And I think we've achieved that very well, but it took your leadership from the top, John. I think we have monthly calls where we get on the line with the phone with the various people, and we discuss if we're hitting objectives or not. It comes down to execution to a great extent.
There's an example also, because two companies working together, it's hard enough to get your own company to go somewhere, but with the speed of change going on in the market, you have to align with other peers to achieve common goals.
It's actually about an hour and 20-minute presentation, and they go back and forth. There's actually a third panel member I cut out because he wasn't as fun to listen to. But the key there is think about that for just a minute. We've talked about change and suggesting that we all have to change, and I believe that we're going to have to adapt and grow. But when the industry changes and the market changes, there's this great opportunity for us to go help them. If Cisco can't do it alone, and they turn to Comcast who can't do it alone, and they're trying to help customers who can't do it alone, we get to go be the people that bring all that together. And so the first thing I'll talk about being a cloud broker is we're going to be facilitators. And it doesn't matter where you reside in organizations. There might very well be a cloud broker in your biggest customer someday. There might be a cloud broker that's in bandwidth and expertise there. And there's going to be cloud brokers in MSPs and VARs, and we'll get that a little bit later. So the last industry influence I want to talk about before we jump into more specific stuff is what was called the race to zero. I'm sure some of you have heard that, right? Anybody heard the race to zero? So we get in there. Okay, if we look at the people involved in that race, they're all in USA today. Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Okay, they've all invested in this huge cloud infrastructure, right? So if we look at what they've spent, Amazon announced another $1.1 billion on data centers this year. It's a lot. I mean, billion's a lot. I mean, think about that. A billion's a lot. Okay, Microsoft has this big infrastructure. Their cost to run that infrastructure is up 24%. So this is actually reported numbers on their last financial statement. Okay, and Google just spent $2.35 billion. Well, if $1 billion's a lot, $2.35 billion's a lot. One of the best jokes at the conference was, how do you make a small fortune? Start with a big one. That was hilarious. You guys should use that at home. That's funny. I'm going to use that with my investors later today. Maybe not. Well, that must mean that prices are going down, right? Nope. Amazon, 45 price cuts in 6 years. Okay, free storage with Office 365 at Microsoft, and Google just announced photos for free, and they're basically giving away storage. In fact, if you look at the price of storage, if I can click right, look what it's done. Well, that makes perfect sense. We're going to spend billions and billions of dollars. We're going to give it all for free. The price is going to drop, and we're going to make the S&P top 10 list. I don't know how to run a business. I obviously don't know what I'm doing here. By the way, the other article in USA Today, on the side, one of the early investors of Netflix just exited for almost $1 billion, $874 million. I know that's rounding up, and yeah, anyway. Think about that. Four of the top 10 in the S&P, and all the USA Today, on the day I give this presentation. I'm pretty lucky. I mean, I couldn't have planned that. All right, so the race to zero. So then my favorite part of this, well, everybody figures out, okay, well, that infrastructure becomes important. If it's not worth any money, then there must be a way to make money at it, and we're going to pull people in to do that. Oh, opportunity for us, cloud brokers, right? So the way we quantify that is we say clouds are going to be hybrid. Bad gas mileage. But now they're going to be hybrid, and we're going to be able to drive them faster, right? We're going to walk in and say, Adam, you want some fluffy cloud? Or do you want some tall cloud? Or, I should have done some more weather research. Right? What does this mean, right? Why do we call it the cloud? It's merely a consumption model. We've been doing cloud forever. Okay? If you think about cloud being using a resource across multiple people and renting time and space on it, the public switch telephone network was a cloud solution. All right, we just found a funny way to call it. All right, so the movement to that. Microsoft is the slide I've got up here because most companies I know are moving to Office 365. It is the biggest cloud initiative that I'm aware of that hits almost every company. And I'll tell you, Office 365 is a better way to do this. I like the way I get my updates. I like the way I use this. And that platform has become key. But the thing that's done is it's created lots and lots of interactions that are smaller, that are more personal, that are results-oriented. John Chambers said it. It's about results. He reorganized his entire company, not around sales and operations and technology, and not around selling routers and switches and firewalls. It's about, I want to talk to who I want, when I want, where I want, on the device that I want. I want access to the data that I want. When I have to get a presentation to the guys from the event company, I want to be able to log into Dropbox and pull all that back. And all of a sudden, I'm buying that, and I have the right to sign up and move away. And somebody that gets that, and gets their industry, and gets the adjacent technologies, is going to win this game. And that change creates opportunity. And we're here to capitalize on that. This change is one of the biggest changes in technology. Every company is a technology company. Every company is a software company. Every company has to figure this out. Okay? Now, the good news for this room is bandwidth is the new oil. Bandwidth matters. Now, if you're from Houston, oil is still the new oil. If you're in North Dakota, I'm just kidding. But bandwidth's the new oil. But the difference that it's going to take to move from being an agent to a cloud broker is we're going to have to ask the question, what does that oil fuel? A cloud broker is going to understand the impact they're trying to have and actually ask the question about what's coming and what the bandwidth is for and be more dynamic. Okay? So let's talk for a minute about what a cloud broker looks like. Sometimes you find a picture and you just want to find a way to put it in a slide, and this is an example of that. Another reason why I'm single is I look for that kind of stuff. So some of these pictures you'll figure out just needed a slide. It just needed a presentation to go into. But what does a cloud broker look like? First thing I'll mention is a cloud broker has gone out and asked the end user of the technology what they're using that for. They've actually done a ride-along. They've actually participated and understand what they're trying to accomplish and how it impacts the business. Scott Baird talked in his sales training yesterday about the idea of it's not about us, it's about you. That's going to become more and more prevalent. As these IT guys try to rein in this world that they let break away from arranged marriages, and they went to, you get to choose the things you want, and motion and love and all that stuff came into it, instead of how we used to do it, which was just to transfer of property. They let go of that control. We're going to have to understand what we want and feel from that. But the great news is bandwidth is the start of that. So if we look at that, we can hold on to that bandwidth. And there's going to be tons of money made, billions maybe even, since we're using that big number, in bandwidth, and that's great. Okay? But people say, I want to be a cloud broker. Okay, well, would you like some cloud with that? 30 years from now, we're going to be going to McDonald's, and it'll be McCyborg. And they're going to read my retina and know that what I want. They're going to say, you want some cloud with that? I say, yeah, I want some fluffy cloud. So most people that you talk to on a daily basis, when they get the call about bandwidth, they feel like this guy's coming in. And we all know it's not true, so change the conversation. We want to ask those questions, okay? But bandwidth isn't the only thing. If we start to look at that bandwidth and how it flows, we start to understand some things that can be different. Okay? You start to see network-based routing and protocols. You start to see how the network is being used. Okay? I'll tell you that my software is somewhere in this space right now. If you look at what we're looking at uptime and changes in routes and S&P traps about what's happening going forward. We're not into the down deep enough yet, mainly because the technology isn't quite there yet. But as we move forward, becoming this cloud broker community, we're going to see that go deeper and deeper. And what you're going to see is users are going to demand better performance. And they're going to demand transparency. So the IT guys are going to demand transparency from their vendors. And as a cloud broker, if we can find those vendors that will give that transparency and give that comfort and that feel and open up how they're running things, because it's become infrastructure, not something we sell, we're going to start to see that broker become the most valuable person in an IT group. Okay? So let's keep going. If I can hit the slide here. Right now, when a lot of people hear cloud broker, they say, we're going to take our bandwidth we've always done in our call centers, we're going to add a hosted PBX, and we're going to get those to handshake, and that's cloud. That's true. There's a lot of companies that made a lot of money. Telesphere was bought by Vonage by that idea. We're going to go by being able to sell bandwidth in cloud. Windstream has a whole model around that, including hardware. There's a lot of vendors that have figured that out, and that's a good thing, but it's a first step. Okay? What we have to do as an industry, what you guys are going to have to do as you look to move forward, and if you want to be in that cloud broker space, is really start to look at, okay, what are the things that those users do? How does it work? What are the applications I'm going to run? What's the functional, how functionally aware am I of what my customers want? What are they trying to do with this? How do they make money with this application? I'm going to tell you a story in just a minute. It's going to blow your mind about understanding what your customers want to do. What is the end result of that? What's the functional awareness? But we're still not a cloud broker. Cloud broker, in my definition, and since I'm up here I get to define that, is a business result. I go in with my sales that Griffin Hill's going to help you with for free for the next 30 days, and I'm going to understand what the great big benefit is I'm going to bring to you. And I'm going to take ownership of that benefit, and I'm going to be responsible for all the vendors that make up that mess, and it's going to be hard, and your customers don't care. Okay? That's what they're going to pay for, and they're going to pay a premium because they can go get free from Amazon and Google and others, but that's not going to be the answer. I'm going to have a hybrid environment where I demand a specific business result. So I want to tell you a quick story, and it's going to answer the question, when is $12,000 worth more than $108,000? Anybody think they would trade that? Well, anybody take a steal? I'll give you $12,000 right now for 108. Okay, so every once in a while I like to go in with our partners and do ride-alongs and just hear the business cases. So I had a good friend of mine call me, and he said, look, RIT, we're not sure we're spending the right money. Could you just come in and give us a few hours and talk about how we spend money? And I said, you know what, I'll do one better. I want to come in and actually do an analysis with one of our partners, and we'll do it, and we'll just take a percentage of your savings. In fact, leave it with him, because I only sell through a dealer channel, and so let's leave it with him, but let's look at what you're doing. So this company has just under 100 employees. Okay? They have 7 locations with an MPLS network connecting them together. I just saw somebody start writing down MPLS. I got to figure out who this customer is. I'm going to answer every bit. Yeah. Okay? They run Office 365 in half their company. They have a hosted application that runs their business, and they run virtual desktops. And the reason they run virtual desktops is so they can share the licenses of their main application that they use. Okay, so we went in, we counted the number of vendors they had in the environment. 9. Okay? Of those 9, 4 of them would call themselves MSPs. The virtual desktop company would call themselves MSPs. The company that sold them their SharePoint consulting would call them that. One of their hosted companies would call them that. So 9, remember that MSPs are the holy grail, right? That's how we get leads. This is why cloud broker is more important than MSP. That's what I'm going to explain. So we went in, we sat down, we went to their carrier first. And I won't tell you who the carrier is, but you're all going to die to know. You'll probably figure it out. We sat down. I had to have a letter from the customer that said, you will tell them anything they ask and anything they want to know. The only thing you can't do is increase our bill monthly. So I can't go buy free circuits and those kind of things for him. So I sat down, and I sat across from the carrier, and there were 3 people in the room from their group. There was an account manager. Her stated purpose was, I'm just here to make sure the meeting happened. I have no other purpose whatsoever. That's a direct quote. I don't have any other responsibility to make sure the meeting happened. Okay, we might be able to automate that. But seriously, I sent an Outlook calendar invite. What do you want? Middle guy, sales engineer, was in charge of building out the network design. Okay, far guy, sales guy, 22 seconds in, he goes, we can share commissions. I said, I'm not a bandwidth. I'm not an agent. No, that's all right. We have a program. I'll give you half. I'm 22 seconds in. I got half the commission. That's not the way to go. Hey.
Sure it is.
Somebody likes it, right? I ended up no, just kidding. I'm like, hold on, I'm going to go change my business license. I'll be right back because there's some good money here. All right, so I said, just tell me what you sell them. And they go, well, here's what we're going to sell them. We're going to sell them an increase to their MPLS because they have this data center that's 300 miles away, and they got rid of it. They said, okay, great. You're their phone company, right? You sell their phone system. No. You don't? No, we never. They have a 20-year-old phone system, and they think that you take care of it. No, we never talked to them. Okay, so 22 minutes in, we've already lost that. So we sit there, we go through it a couple hours, and it turns out that they have this MPLS network to access a data center that's 300 miles away, but all the applications only use cloud. So there's no reason for it. There's no reason for the MPLS network, and so they're at risk of getting an evaluation and losing it. They're so desperate not to lose the business that they're willing to give up all the commissions, right? So this is meeting number one. It's spectacular. I laughed with my partner, and we laughed on the way out. We're like, wow, that was the most, this is better than customers. I mean, listen, we talk to their vendors and still they have their commissions. So, at the end, the last guy goes, yeah, but we've been a CLEC for a long time. Okay. I've been married a long time. That means it didn't work out. What was that?
5.
We have video. We're going to go check the count. Okay. Somebody's pretty confident in 8. So we went through that, got through that process, and at the end, the sales engineer turned to me and said, we screwed up, didn't we? And I said, well, I think so, but tell me why you think so. And he said, if we just would have went and talked to our customer, we could have sold them their cloud solution, their phone system. We have a hosted phone system. We could have sold them a different type of connectivity, and we're going to get kicked out of this account, aren't we? And I said, I don't know. But I do know that they've already got a Comcast circuit in. And they're going to look at that as an option because it's so much different than what they've done before. That was a free plug for Comcast. We'll get to the others later. I think they're one of the major sponsors, so we have to be careful. Make sure they're happy. So we continued on. We talked to all their vendors. Okay? Those 4 MSPs, every one of them figured out they had not sold them what they were supposed to sell them. Not one of them could tell me the answer to the question, how does this customer make money with your technology? What applications are they going to run on? Okay? They had gone in and they had said, well, we want to save money on licenses. So the CTO said, well, the way you do that is virtual desktop. So they went out and they said, we want some virtual desktop. These guys wouldn't even talk to us. They actually said, no, we won't take the meeting unless you come. The customer actually had to call them and say, if you don't take this meeting, you're fired right now. We went in. The guy said, I don't have any time. My 9-year-old's home, sick by herself, but I'm here for this meeting because this is our biggest virtual desktop customer. And then talked for 45 minutes without taking a breath, and I never said 2 words. I got half his commissions too. But the point here is he never asked the question, how are we going to use this? How are we going to make money with this? And so it turns out that they were going to save $12,000 on their enterprise license fee. To do that, they moved all their data to a data center 300 miles away, built an MPLS network between all their offices, went to Office 365, and spent $108,000 on the infrastructure every year to save 12. Because nobody ever asked the question. So we did one more step. After we talked to all the vendors, we asked if we could go do a ride-along with their revenue producers. So we went on this ride-along, and these revenue producers were estimators. They would go out in the field, they would collect this information about this insurance adjustment company, and then they would bring that back in, and we said, what's your biggest technology challenge? And they said, look, we get 70 calls a day back and forth because somebody calls in and they have to get a hold of the coordinator and the estimator, and they just can't, and it turns out their phone system can't forward calls. So what's happening back at the back office is the receptionist is taking the call, hanging up the call, writing it down, dialing their cell phone number, telling them to call them back. They pick up the phone, call them back, and all they really needed was a transcribed email. And everything else was taken care of, and everything was good. And in fact, if there was, this is the biggest moment. They were carrying around paperwork that was worth about $500,000 to this company in briefcases because they didn't have the technology to get the paperwork turned in faster. And it would last 4, 5, 6 weeks. They were asking the wrong questions. We simply put in some technology that let them scan it up to their SharePoint site, and they increased their collections by $500,000 a month over about a 6-week window. And so instead of waiting for all that money, when I've already paid my subcontractors, I've already paid all my vendors, now I get that money quicker. Anybody here a business owner that wouldn't like $500,000 6 weeks faster than they were getting it? Adam didn't raise his hand. I don't know. My point here is that if you go in with isolated view, you're going to spend $100,000 to save 12. But if you have the right cloud broker that understands your goal of the technology, you change the world and change the way it works, right? Now, I'm going to answer the guy's question. Slides up. There they are. There will be winners and there's going to be losers. The carrier is going to lose. Okay? In this case, the carrier lost because they didn't talk to him in 9 years. Okay? Average life, what was it, Adam, you said the average contract length after contract expiration was yesterday in your presentation?
After, I think it's about 36.
It's about 36 months, right? These guys have had these guys for 9 years. You have to talk to the customers about how they're using it, okay? There's going to be winners and losers, and hope's not a method. And we're making this harder. Okay? This is another one of those slides I had to find. It actually works, but it's a spectacular slide. The picture is great. I love it. So we can't hope. There's people in this room that don't talk to their customers about circuit renewal because they're afraid they've forgotten about it and they'll remember. They'll remember that they're paying me monthly, right? Honestly, anybody have that? You know, well done. You raise your hand. I think it's pretty dominant. If we don't tell them, it'll keep going. There's a whole business around the idea of credit card collection, and if I get you to sign up on QVC and keep you for 3 months on that, there's a whole, and Utah has a bunch of these, I don't know why, but they actually, if I can keep you running the automatic credit card processing fee, so I'm going to send you free vitamins for 3, and if I get 3 months out of that, I make a fortune. That's kind of our model, right? Let's change that. Let's go talk to them about what that is. And look how complex it's getting. We're going to take this network infrastructure, and this is just a sample of what it takes to run IMAN presence. Just chat. So we add that to our world. And we're going to say, we're going to put that on the network. And then let's take web conferencing and video and put that on that network. Okay? Oh, by the way, let's put enterprise voice on that as well. All right? This is complex. You don't have to know everything. Cisco has to have partnerships. Comcast has to have partnerships. We have to have partnerships. Your customers have to have partnerships, and they need somebody to manage that. That's a cloud broker. That's what it's going to turn into, okay? And it all depends on the very thing we're best at, infrastructure, okay? Let's talk about this. This is another company I went into. They had all these solutions. So a 100-person company was using all these technologies. Man, the IT guys really screwed up to let everything in. I mean, seriously, Utah even got rid of polygamy. That's only a half joke. But look at that. I'm doing that because Skinny Pants doesn't like me point to the side slides. He's the event guy. They had all these solutions actually in this company. Okay? Our partners came to us and said, we can't do this. I can't go hire an Avaya guy, a SharePoint guy, a Link expert, a Skype for Business, which is Skype for Business now, a BroadSoft expert, a Cisco expert. Help me. We built a solution called VxSWAT. VxSWAT is simply a stable or pool of resources that you can rent hourly, and they'll represent as you. They can go in. So imagine if you have a big shop, you want the bandwidth protected, you want the Cisco, they are a Cisco shop, but they have to figure out how to make it work with their legacy Avaya from the customer they bought. VxSWAT can be that resource for you. We did that because we can't be experts at everything. What we can be experts is the technology lifecycle. We can pre-assess whether technology will work. We can find the vendors that make the most sense for our customers in the adjacent industries we work in and understand how to pre-assess what happens in that network. We then can make sure that implementation goes flawlessly and that while it's being used, it's monitored not just to make sure it's working, but to make sure it's delivering the results that we want, and we can fix it as it goes, and we can always remember that the quality of the experience to the end user is the only thing that matters. IT let me decide what device I'm going to use. I now believe I get to decide whether I like using it or not. Adam talked about the idea that I get to switch from app to app to app if I don't like it. You can make sure that we're meeting those needs. And the most important thing for a cloud broker is to make sure you take credit as you go forward for all the work you do. And that involves reporting and consistent touches and information connectivity into your customers and information into your manufacturers and suppliers in the transparent way they're going to deliver services. Okay? They maybe put a slide in about my product. We'll talk really quick about this and then move on. We have 3 modules we feed. First one's an analytic module. Imagine if you can understand behavior of technology. I make 64% of my calls from my cell phone. I know that my assistant Sarah doesn't. She needs a desk phone. She doesn't have one, by the way. She needs a desk phone. I need to buy her one. And I don't. Maybe she should take mine. I haven't had a desk phone in 3 years. If you understand how they use it, you can understand how to fix it. I went into a customer recently. They bought 50 iPads. Any guess on what happened to their data network? Somebody guess. This is a real question. Bandwidth went through the roof is your guess? Okay. Anybody else? It crashed. Okay. Couldn't make phone calls.
Slow down.
We were monitoring it. Nothing. Nothing changed. They ran with these iPads for 8 months before their IT guy said, "Wow, that should have gone up." So they pulled somebody in and they said, "Why is nothing happening?" And by the way, our revenue didn't go up, and our customer touches didn't go up, and none of the things that were supposed to happen with these iPads that you guys told us would happen would go up. Their enterprise application didn't work on an iPad. That one hurts. But the Verizon rep that sold him the iPads made a fortune. And it was Christmas time when he gave him the deal, and he got a huge commission check, and he didn't care. If somebody just would have said, "What are you going to use the iPads for?" maybe we would have gone with Surface tablets. Maybe we would have done something different. But the cloud broker would have known that. So plug in and understand not just how it's working, but what they're using it for. You have to be able to diagnose it and monitor it. That's our VX Pulse product. Okay? If you don't look at mobility, you're ignoring one of the major legs. Cisco has already said we're going to go away from connected devices. It's going to all be mobile. I'll tell you the conversations that have happened this week. I believe it'll be mobile, okay? And then we feed that up into a customized view that makes the most sense for you and your customers about how to see that data, interpret that data. Our development process has totally changed. We went away from developing features or parts of our software. We go out to the end users and say, "What do you want to see? And what will it take to let you see that?" And we build the solutions inside of there to make sure they can see what they need, not here's the feature, try to go use it. It's a big shift in the technology industry, in the software industry. All right, so let's wrap this up. How do we go forward? How do you focus on the right things? This is all fine and dandy. It's great information. We've got tons throughout the week. How do we turn this into action? What are the things we can do over the next couple of days that will actually change our business? Because this isn't going to happen tomorrow. We're going to go sell a ton of bandwidth. And a bunch of you in here are going to continue to answer every bid that comes in. And that's fine if that's your business model. In fact, you're going to make a lot of money at that. But perhaps you should look at the ones you're not winning and narrow that down and take 10 to 15% of your time to figure out if being a cloud broker makes sense for you and strategically how you're going to move that direction. And the real question is, can you focus on the right things? There are going to be decisions that matter. Can we pick the things that are not important to our business and find the right ones? How do we do that? I counted once. I started counting and I stopped at 1,000. There's 1,000 hosted PBX companies out there when I stopped counting. I'll show you the list. Again, there's a reason I stay single. It gives me a lot of time at night to do 1,000 PBX research, right? So we do that. How do we get that? Well, we have to be a craftsman. A cloud broker is a craftsman. They come to an event like this. They meet new people, and they figure out whether they fit within the craft of what they're going to deliver to their customers. Okay? I grabbed 4 random vendors. I would challenge you to do the same. You've met, I think there's 30 here, Trish, is that right? 30 vendors. I grabbed 4 random ones. Don't be offended if you're not on the list. It was mainly about timing of when I grabbed them. But pick those. Can they fit into you delivering a different technology solution to your customers? Okay? How do you do that? We use the platform of Teleris to help build that out. They'll do a bunch of the vetting for us. We have to tell them what we want them to vet. We have to go to them and say, if you do this and give me this, I'll sell more. And not only sell more bandwidth, I'll sell more hosted solutions. I'll sell more cloud, and it will be fluffy cloud, and it will be bright cloud, and it will be pretty cloud. And sometimes it will be fog, and we're going to add mist. Okay? I'm not sure when cloudy became good. I like the sun. It's beautiful out there today. I'm going to try to change the word, but I may fail at that. But we're going to be more transparent, right? So see-through cloud. That might be it. That's brand new. I didn't even think I was going to say that. See-through cloud is the key thing. You met a bunch of people. How do you make money at that? Okay. We're always unprepared to do something the first time. Okay? Always. This isn't easy. Take a piece at a time. Build it out slowly. Use the services that they've brought to you, or whomever you're going to partner with, and understand what they can do for you. The vendors here will go ride with you. They'll go submit their solution for you. If they won't, they probably don't fit your model if that's what you're trying to build. It's always scary to do something the first time. And it feels a little bit like this. Okay? That's all right. People like us do things like this. Or you wouldn't be here. Okay? There's a bunch of people that didn't come to this conference, right? We're gonna leave them in the dust or they're gonna come begging and say, "How did you do that cloud meeting again?" And they're gonna read this, okay? It's nice to have a safety net. It's nice to do this together with somebody to understand what's happening. And I would challenge you that that's the way to do it. So, here's your homework. We're gonna wrap up. Okay, somebody get something out to write or on your phones or whatever. Okay? It's better if it's on paper. It'll make my job easier in just a minute. Write down your top 5 customers. Then you're gonna pass them in the middle and hand them to me. Listen, Utah's the leader of MLM, multi-level marketing. We have to start somewhere. You all have a circle of influence, and they all buy soap. And if we can just get you to buy some soap, no, they all have a circle of influence, and they all need cloud. Would like some cloud with that, and then my kids are going to be working at a McDonald's asking cloud. Anyway, write down your top 5 customers. Okay? Now take a minute and write down 3 of the vendors you talked to at the summit this week. 3 that resonated with you the most. 3 that made sense that you want to follow up with. 3 that you're determined to add to your offering in a different way. I'm not going to ask you to pass that. But here's the thing that's going to change you. And Scott Baird talked about the idea of having 30 people, that you have a date, time, agenda, an agreed-to goal with a meeting, to be a scheduled next event, to be an opportunity. So take those 5 customers, those 3 vendors, and go back and create a strategy that within the next 30 days you can go ask that customer this question. How do I make money with this technology? Not how do I, how do you? How do they? How does the end user of the MSP make money? 4 out of 8 in my example were MSPs, and they still didn't know how to talk to their customers. The other 4 were auxiliary, and they owned a specific segment of the market. Okay? Cloud brokers understand their customer's end goal. They understand the end user's usage of technology. They understand how to bring partners together and build a solution that delivers a specific result. And they know how to talk about it in a way that makes them the most valuable IT asset in any company. I'm telling you that if Cisco has to have help, Comcast has to have help, we have an opportunity to go help all of our customers figure that out too. I appreciate you for being here. We'll get the final counts later in case you want to touch base with me later. Thank you for your attention today. Have a great time golfing and bobsledding. Before we go, I promised that I would call out Doug. Is he here? You have a badge on today. Doug walks into the vendor show last night. I got to tell you, he's really good at being embarrassed. He walks in with no badge. Everybody's got a badge but Doug. And I'm like, who are you? He's like, well, I'm Doug. Oh, okay, well, you don't need to wear a badge then. You're Doug. You're like Cher or Bono. So everybody know Doug. So I'll wrap up with one final comment. We all know Bryce, right? Where's Bryce? Bryce is behind the stage. Sorry. I overheard a call with Bryce and his wife on his anniversary. It's his 20th anniversary yesterday, right? And she goes, hey, Bryce says, honey, I just decided to start the Teleris diet. And then I didn't hear what she said. She must have said, what do you mean the Teleris diet? He goes, oh yeah, it's really healthy. It's high in fiber. He was afraid to tell that joke. I'm never afraid of a flat joke. Thank you for your attention. I'm going to wrap up early. Thanks to Teleris for letting me be here. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. Have a great rest of the day.